Good evening, everybody. It's all in favor? Do you have any? Okay. 6, new business. And property is located in section 7. So the access energy. And then as far as the I can tell you right now, at driveway number 3, Well, I was on the phone with her, my wife got sideswiped while she was waiting in that turning lane and got smashed into and totaled our car. And that's just with the simple days in. I got news for you, that is a lousy design. It's a tough piece to put it in, I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah,
I don't see how you can do without signals, and then you got the signal problem. You got the signals already down there, I don't know, I don't see how you get this through. PennDOT, you know.
I think the challenge is gonna be PennDOT.
I can't see any other way around it, can you, Michael?
and so, I mean, and we're early on conversations with those, with PennDOT on the driveways, but, you know,
East Brown is already
A problem.
a huge problem.
It
To get out of it. We've been talking about the growth of that area right now. It's already been discussed what's gonna go happen with East Brown because it's gonna be a challenge. Yeah, I mean, it's, again, that's gonna be PennDOT and traffic studies. We won't give anything without a traffic study, obviously, but
so we do have a traffic engineer as part of the project. Unfortunately, they were not able to make it. It's a traffic planning design TPD. They are on the project, and then we'll be working with the township and with PennDOT to make sure that what we're doing is acceptable to PennDOT and to the township. I will say that I understand traffic's concern. I know that we're taking the 4 driveways and turning it into 1. Hopefully, at that point, we're providing a benefit and not having cars turning in and out at multiple locations so close together.
that's gonna.
So again, beyond the traffic in the driveways, and I do understand that that's a concern, but I wanted to kind of get some feedback overall on the rest of the project as well. Site layout,
Which is the 4 buildings is the largest?
I would say the sheets. The retail's approximately the same size, well, maybe a little larger.
What is the retail gonna be?
There's no user defined yet for that, so it would just be maybe like a mixed use retail, strip retail type of. What you would normally see when, and again, there's no users for it, but just to give an example, you know, maybe you would see like if you were driving down the road, you saw like a pack of like maybe 2, 3, 4 users. One might be a Verizon or a T-Mobile, and et cetera, those type of things.
And the 2 fast foods?
So again, there's no end users for them yet currently. We have modeled what we are kind of using as a design approach.
Which is what, McDonald's and Starbucks?
That's the intent as from a design standpoint, you know, using that as a guide to try to lay out what those types of users, those end users expect and want.
You said that you contacted PennDOT. Did you submit a scoping application yet, or?
Yes. There was a scoping application that was submitted. They are, you know, the next step for us really before comment was to approach the township, have a conversation. That's why we engage in a sketch plan submission, and then once they receive some comment from the township, which there's a
you did,
the June
you got it,
6th,
yeah,
we got the June 6th letter. That can get forwarded along to PennDOT. We can continue on with the process.
You got.
Yeah, we are in receipt the June 6th letter from LBL.
Yeah.
And one other comment I would make, I think there's a couple items on parking. I'm desperately trying to change our parking requirements here to make them less in this zone in particular, potentially no requirements at all per se. Or at least significantly less. We're working on that right now. So depending on at what point in time this project would go for approval, that may or may not be as stringent as it is right now.
Okay, I appreciate the feedback on that. We, as far as what we have today, we meet the requirement based on what's there today.
I think your sizes are too small.
Yes.
Most of the other things you wanted to point out in the letter.
I had one big item to point out. Yes.
Go ahead.
So in the ED district, let me find it here. Only one principal use is permitted on a lot by right, unless part of a mixed use development or an incentivized development. So are you considering either one of those options?
So I'd say based on the comment, based on feedback that we're hearing, I think the approach for us would be to have a conversation with the zoning officer for the township to try
Okay.
to figure out really what's the best approach here as far as, you know, how we're approaching the project overall.
Okay,
But really the intent right now is one lot. So it's really, you know, figuring the next steps.
Yeah.
And we will work with the township zoning officer on that.
yeah, either option is going to require probably some big relief from the zoning hearing board. So that's a conversation to have quite early.
So the alternative is that they get conditional use for the other uses, right?
No, it would be a variance from the zoning hearing board.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably.
Okay,
I didn't realize that that's how it was framed. Yep. Could they be spliced into separate parcels then?
that could be an option, slightly, yeah. What's your minimum lot area in the zoning district is 30,000 square. Yeah, 30,000 square feet, so
Quarters.
You could just
they
subdivide
could
it for.
subdivide it.
So we're,
I mean, there are other options.
yeah, and that's one of the, as far as, you know, engaging with the zoning officer to figure out, you know, individual lots versus what a lease line would be, or items like that as to how we can approach these 4 uses on this lot.
Okay.
Right.
I have a question.
Sure.
To the upper right of the plan, there's a building there. We call it the daycare. That's what most recently was in there. And then just beyond that, there's another development going on that's gonna have new accesses. Is there any way you could somehow come off of their entrance and come back in the backside of that to avoid this?
Because there's not really enough, well, I mean, we're at the edge of our property now. So we don't really have a right to even to come in off of somebody else's property. What we are doing is taking the driveway for that building that's tucked back there and providing access right off of ours. So there's some type of access easement at that point to be able to clean that up.
What's going on with the land adjacent to that used to be the Mark's parking lot? What are they using that for? I don't know. It's just sitting there vacant, isn't it?
Which land, north of it?
It's kind of to the north or to the left and the right. It's kind of surrounds that whole plan you see up
That's
there.
Shawnee property, I believe.
Is that March?
No,
it's Shawnee.
what used to be the March parking
Yeah,
lot.
occupied. Just north of Mark's parking lot is.
Right. Yeah, but what are they doing with March parking? March
So
parking.
it's full again, they're open now.
They are? Yeah.
They opened up like 3 weeks ago.
Is that right? Okay, so it's actually above the state bridge.
know that, okay.
I'm sorry, what is the?
It was a week ago,
Last 2 days, I mean,
Monday through Friday.
I'm
only.
at the State Bridge almost every day. I haven't seen any cars there.
I
As I can see
it
right through our.
Maybe 2 weeks ago, I saw it full.
All right.
I don't know how often they operate, but the last few times I've been by there, you know, I have seen, you know, vehicles, but.
It might be a Monday,
It might have just been a.
whenever the bus goes, right? I don't know.
What services can it be?
What, I'm sorry, what's the anchor store?
The sheets, yeah.
Okay, so where, would you show me where the sheets is supposed to be?
Absolutely. So right here is the building.
Uh-huh.
And there's parking surrounding with the fueling from parallel to.
Your drawing has a drive-through, doesn't it?
And
Your drawing has a drive-through on that sheet, doesn't it?
yeah, correct, along the rear.
Sheets is a fast food operation too, right?
No, it's another convenience store, gas station.
Service convenience.
So what's the drive-through for? I'm sorry.
That's part of part of the Sheets model now is to offer drive-through service.
Sandwich, coffee.
Sandwiches. I mean,
So it's food.
Well, as far as a convenience store goes, food would typically be offered, correct? But there's more than that, like a fast food, you wouldn't buy the things that you would buy in a convenience store. It's a separate, it's a different use, but I could see how you were saying there is food served. There's
What
food,
else
but
would
it's
you
not
buy
classified as
through a
food.
drive-through besides food?
Well,
It's similar to a Wawa, but they'll have a drive-through model for their sandwiches.
because obviously, you know, there's a Wawa just a few yards down the street.
Proposed.
And it's Wawa's actually switching some of their operations to provide convenience as well. I'm not sure if that Wawa has it, but it's standard for those types of uses to provide drive-through.
And they have,
get cars in
and they
and
have
out.
gas.
Correct.
So it's like a little,
Should be the
little
exact same.
bit of redundancy here.
For the same, biggest competitors in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So what are we looking to do tonight?
Nothing.
They're just looking for feedback.
Please look at me.
So-
I mean, I think feedback number one is PennDOT, you're gonna have some challenges with both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll always be able to do right out and, you know, coming in and
Right in,
right out and right in. I don't know how you easily be able to go left there. Just knowing the traffic flow right now usually backs up.
Or crossing Brown Street.
Crossing Brown Street's a nightmare.
Yeah.
You'll never be able to, I mean,
That's really
Yeah,
the
well, and again, that's
Traffic go back.
through the PennDOT process, we'll have those conversations. I can't
But
begin
all
to
those-
speculate what PennDOT's gonna
exactly, neither can we.
require, yeah. But as far, so I will say, so there are a few things that I wanted to get a little bit of feedback on. From
Go
an
ahead.
engineering and planning standpoint, but I will say too that the plan that was submitted, there was a few minor, say, improvements to the plan, but not necessarily from a traffic access standpoint. But we did take a look at providing an internal access point between these two uses to access the two buildings along the rear, rather than having traffic come up to the parking lot area. And then, differences from the plan that you have seen, were some improvement to the turning, radii throughout the site based on a movement analysis that we did for trucks. And then trash enclosures for each use. I know that, the previous plan was missing.
Does it require any loading docks anywhere?
So there'll be loading for each use. So very, very similar, just looking at the plan, it almost looks like identical to what I just presented, but there are some modifications there that help traffic flow internally. So as far as the layout of the site goes, one of the items I wanted to talk about was the setbacks along 209 and 447. There is a requirement of a 50-foot setback.
Yep.
We intend to maintain the existing pavement limits that are out there now. So not constructing any further than what's there. We wanted to have a discussion on what the possibilities were from a standpoint of being able to construct to what's existing today.
I think you need a variance.
Yeah, that would be.
There's not anything this board could do.
It's a new plan.
Yeah,
It's a new plan and new uses. You're redeveloping.
Yeah, no, I understand that there's gonna be a relief standpoint and a zoning standpoint, but just wanted to get some feedback from the planning commission too on what.
No, we put it in for a reason. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think that, I'm not gonna speak to anybody else, but I sure wouldn't recommend adjusting our setbacks. Because we just did this, we redid all of this several years ago for the economic development zone and all the rest of it. To avoid people coming in and saying, oh, here we go all the way out, to the berm of 209.
Sure, no,
Because it's tight and frankly, it's ugly.
yeah, so we're not necessarily trying to do that. It's just, it's a non-conforming use today non-conformity as far as the setback goes today. It's just looking to maintain that. Not necessarily.
Well,
increase
no, the
costs.
non-conformity is shut down.
Yeah.
This is a new plan. The non-conformity doesn't continue unless you're gonna keep the existing days in and go from there. You don't have a non-conforming use to grandfather in.
the non-conforming, you're talking about the setbacks.
Just,
you're talking about
just,
for 209 and
just talking about the
447.
pavement itself, not necessarily the use.
Julia, is Ron on the Zoom?
Is there there?
That might be something to ask Ron.
I'm here if you need to ask me a question.
Yeah, you were there you go.
Yeah, so my question is related to the pavement and parking setbacks that are along 209. Currently with the days in, there's pavement and parking that like head-in parking that is we'll say running parallel with 209. What we're looking to do is just maintain that pavement limit, not pave beyond that, but improve pavement up to that and utilize that area for access and or parking.
How much of it's in the setback? The current setback, our 50-foot setback, the 50-foot setback.
Yeah, I would say to you that if you were repairing or maintaining the use that's there now, that would probably be okay, but you are creating a new use for a new project, and I think I'd probably have to agree with the planning commission that that would require, if it's a zoning issue, zoning relief by way of a variance. So that's how I would look at that at this point, unless something different is presented to me.
Okay.
And I also want to point out that because the sheets is greater than 5,000 square feet, your setback is actually 6. Your building setback. But I think I'm talking about something completely different.
You're talking about setback on the.
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
pavement,
the
not the
parking
building.
areas have to be located 50 feet, never mind.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the total lot?
Between the two lots combined for approximately 5.75 acres.
What are requirements for the incentivized? Is there
For what? I'm sorry,
incentivized
for what?
mixed use?
None.
Is
Is there a minimum size? No, is there a minimum size if they want to go to, I'm just thinking about the,
Oh, for the lot area?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure about incentivized option, but I know that the mixed use is 25 or 50
yeah,
acres.
it
so
doesn't meet that for
The
everyone.
incentivized, I don't know.
I don't know if there is even, maybe, there's not one.
I don't remember seeing one. I know there was some additional parking setbacks in the incentivized option. But I don't remember seeing minimum lot area.
You said that there were 2 lots. Is that the, is that on the upper right there? Is that what I'm seeing there? Is that one lot? Like that one lot's there?
Yeah, it's 5, yeah, it's right here.
Okay, so it's not 5 acres and change. It's 4 acres plus whatever.
Yeah, so I think it's like a little over 5 and then a little over. half.
Okay, so you're gonna have to do subdivision work anyway to combine them. You're gonna have a joiner.
We'd consolidate the 2 lots into one.
Okay. If a little right here, one of your proposed buildings is to the line.
Oh, if you're gonna do that anyway. You said you want to talk to the zoning officer, but it might make sense to actually have 4 lots. But then there's setback issues, right?
There'll be setback issues. There's also going to be access issues because you can't create lots that don't have access directly to a public road.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why we want to look at what our best option is moving forward, potentially look at lease lines on one lot.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that would be helpful?
No, I think you hit my main concerns, which was access and then use. And parking.
Questions?
Yeah, I do have, I have 2 more items, and they may not be as pressing as maybe the traffic will be, but just some things for me to be able to chew on as we're working through some of this. You know, there's a requirement to provide sidewalk along the frontage.
Yep.
This is a state route, but PennDOT. Typically, PennDOT's not gonna want that. We have drainage swales along the frontage of both of those properties. So what we're looking at doing to try to make sure we're providing that pedestrian circulation is wanted to see if the township would entertain a connection point from the Gateway project onto our site, provide internal circulation from a sidewalk standpoint, but not necessarily right along the state route. So there would be an access to the site, pedestrian circulation internally to all uses, but not having pedestrians walking right along the state routes, which PennDOT more than likely will not want that anyway.
I'll pick up, I personally. As long as there's walking flow, I will tell you, there are people today, every day, that walk along that route on the grass or on the pavement. Especially since there's a college right there, and college is what, right down, East Brown.
Yep.
So, but I'm just saying, I mean, the idea that if there's parking, if there's sidewalks and we're from there that clearly made it down to, you know, the Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, I personally, as long as it made sense, but I don't actually know how legally you go through that from our ordinance standpoint.
Is there gonna be parking along Seven Bridges with the new gateway? Doug, do you know that?
Well, there is now, you mean this?
where St. Luke's is, will there be a sidewalk along Seven Bridge Road?
There is,
There is.
well, it's not,
It's not there now.
it's part of the PennDOT project,
Oh, it is.
yes.
So I would think PennDOT would want it all the way down.
Connected. That's what he's asking.
It's just further in. It's just not right along the 209 pavement, it's just in a bit, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
and there's drainage features along the two roadways that right along the frontage as well that we would look to maintain. And that would be another reason. I mean, the sidewalk would either be, if we move forward with this, the sidewalk would either be a waiver or potentially a deferral until the time that.
Yeah, as far as stormwater though, you haven't addressed that yet.
Correct, yeah, we're early
And
stage.
when you do the actual plan, the development plan, you're gonna have to address it big time.
Yeah, because it's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a
Because
lot of
as
water.
you know,
coming there.
they went to a tremendous lengths at Gateway to build the stormwater system there, so.
So, yeah, I mean, the based on the size of the development, we're definitely in a need for an NPDES permit with the conservation district and DEP, so.
Yeah.
You know, we
So the
expect that we're
drainage
gonna have.
swales maybe.
How far back? I would expect that the drainage swale, especially along 447, would be maintained, and there would be a point with our driveway where we would have to
Oh, okay.
have that flow underneath. Just based on
Yeah,
existing features, topography, things like that. I would expect that, and then that's why I wanted to talk about the sidewalks, so we understood.
Right.
Because I know that the sidewalks are a requirement for the township. PennDOT may feel differently about it, and then DEP will probably want to maintain their drainage swales, so we have conflicting interests, and that's why I wanted to have the conversation.
What's the set, how far back is the sidewalk at the, like, the next
Actually,
property?
it's only a couple of feet off the edge of curve, which is at the edge of the shoulder and acceleration line. So it's not that far, from the road.
So what happens down at the corner of Music Center Drive and Seven Bridge? Was there a sidewalk go all the way down that way too?
Yes,
Goes to
Does it
the,
go in front of that retaining wall?
yes,
And then does it end at Music Center Drive?
yes. And the crosswalks are there as part of the improvements at Music Center.
there's gonna be a crosswalk at Music Center?
Yes. But the sidewalk,
And then the sidewalk ends.
yeah, then the sidewalk ends.
I know they're constructing it right now, so I don't know when it ends.
There's no sidewalk along the far through the property.
It'll just be that's like water retaining area?
There's actually a swale that'll be going down there, but there'll be an extra lane of
they're
209.
already built, they're building.
Yeah, they're already.
So Doug, what happens going the other way towards what's now the Dunkin' Donuts, and then to that other end?
There's a sidewalk all across the.
On both sides of Seven Bridge or just the one side?
Just one.
Just to one side.
Not on the bay wash, car wash side?
No.
Just on,
the south side. Does this land buttress up to Motors Development? Right up to it? Or is there another property in between?
I think there's no.
they have the Mark's Park and Ride.
No, on
On
209,
the right, on the
Going east.
northeast side.
on the 209 side.
Well, you have that daycare building that comes down.
Yeah, I don't know where that ends.
Is that part of the development?
No,
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 Okay.
well, they have a driveway there somehow. They have an easement there as a minimum.
No,
How do you get to the daycare?
they have to go through the gas station lot.
Yeah.
There's a standing handshake agreement between
So what
two owners
happens?
back of the Gulf Station. Nothing is written anywhere.
Hmm.
Wow. So that property technically has no access to any roads right now.
Are you gonna maintain it for them?
We'll see how the development goes. Exciting.
Is there public transportation along either of these roads?
No.
Bus
No.
service? No.
Now,
Mark's was the only ones that used to use that driveway, but they don't use it anymore.
public transportation is now going to the medical office building.
Okay, so that's something to think about, I think, for sidewalks. and the
yeah, it's more of a
requirement to
reason why you
provide
need to
walkability.
actually.
Because
There won't be a need for that sidewalk, but there's a bus that's right there and.
Mhm.
the next section of Mosier Farm Drive it actually has a bus stop incorporated into it.
Okay,
Just to repeat what Michael said about walking on East Brown. I think there needs to be a contiguous sidewalk from East Brown all the way down
I agree.
because people walk on the side of that road and it's dangerous.
Yep.
So I think what really I'm asking is, typically your sidewalks placed, right parallel to the roadway, right? We're still going to provide circulation, pedestrian flow. We want to make sure that we're doing that. It just may not be sidewalk that's parallel.
Do you have an idea if you are not
I don't see sidewalks on that plan.
Again, we're
still?
we're sketch plan phase at this point. We want to
Yeah.
make sure that we understand what's going on. We know that there's a requirement for sidewalk, but we also know that there's drainage features there that, and we know that PennDOT is going to weigh in on us as well. So I just wanted to make sure I understood from the township standpoint.
I mean, people aren't walking onto 80 because they're not legally allowed to do that, right? Well, maybe they are, but they're not legally allowed to do it.
Right.
But they're coming from East Brown. And they're going over there. I mean,
They're gonna walk right out of the university apartments and walk right over there,
right, so what I'm just saying is,
which I'm sure you want. Because
if there was a very clear sidewalk that where the East Brown area is, whether they're supposed to run across the road there or not, I mean, they're not supposed to.
Okay, well.
Meeting up shortly thereafter, I think you'd have to see it before anyone.
You can walk across there.
Yeah, people do, but there's not a crosswalk.
I think asking us to waive sidewalk provisions that we've already put in this is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, it's not necessary. So I'm not, well, I guess to clarify on it, I'm not asking for a waiver. I'm not asking for a waiver.
Not at all, right.
It's really just feedback and understanding, but
Yeah.
It's more just a relocation of what a sidewalk would.
So you can propose whatever you want to us, but don't give us something that waives sidewalk. Cause I can tell you that would probably not be something that our panel would be too happy with.
Yeah, I think this panel is pretty inclined to have sidewalks. So, I mean, my view is if it's 10 feet back for some reason, and that particular corner, I personally don't see why that's an issue because it's probably safer. As long as it's very clearly, if you're walking on the sidewalk, you're not like, oh, where do I go now? And then you start walking on the grass.
Yeah, we may have to relocate it around drainage features, things like that, but
Mhm.
that's what.
That's understandable.
Yeah, okay.
Could you bridge it? I think we'll have to. Again,
Cross that when he
so
comes to his
so
bit.
early on. It's tough to get into the sort of specific design items. We haven't gone beyond the sketch plan. And that's exactly why we did the sketch plan submission to, try to get us.
Honestly, I would bridge. Well, I don't know, I don't know if PennDOT's gonna come back to say, but I've been saying, even with this project, that East Brown Street 447 is a real problem.
It's a death trap.
I actually think that this township should think how we can help solve it. Now, regardless of what this project is for, but if this project does go forward, is there something we can help make happen? I mean, right now, there's the Innovation Center where I have personally driven to the back area to come out of, because it's easier to make just a right turn.
I did it last-
If you're there when the medical center lets out or the university, it's backed up.
And you can't, you're gonna go left on East Brown.
You can't even turn
You can't
right.
even go right. If you're gonna go right to get onto 209,
Can't get near it.
I mean,
And that's gonna be a problem you have.
The other, yeah.
and then now there's gonna be a light a little further up, right? Where the,
Drive over at 4 o'clock in the
Your
afternoon on
project?
Friday. I'm very serious.
Yeah.
You can make all the calculations you want. Drive over there at 4 o'clock on a Friday, and you can see exactly what we're talking about.
phase two,
And that's the time.
Peak hour calculations and traffic counts.
So no, actually get in your car and sit in there and wait 45 minutes before you can turn. I don't want to hear about calculations. I'm talking about peak time that you're sitting in your seat and you run out of things on your, through your.
It's not 45 minutes.
Yeah, you know what I mean, though. No, as a matter of fact, there's more, no, in fact,
there's a student in front of you waiting in maybe
4 or 5 minutes. No, it's more than that because it went further up. I did the same thing you did. I actually drove down the wrong lane on East Brown Street just so I could drive through the Innovation Center 2 weeks ago, just to do that. But I'm telling you, get your car, that's it, you're gonna see what the problem is, calculation, no calculation, because you see what people try to do is because they're trying to cut out this way, they try to cut across. And that's what happens, and they pull out part way, and then it backs 447 up, because they wanna get in the left to go, the left-hand lane to go up to her. You have a real problem there. And it's a real problem that requires more than calculus.
Well, I don't know what the.
You do what I do, Scott, which is pull into the innovation center, go through there.
That's what I just said, I just did it 2 weeks, literally, 2 weeks ago.
That's what Michael did.
I had no choice, I had to get there.
Anyway, you're not telling you things that PennDOT's not gonna.
Right.
Eventually tell you.
And that's, you know, exactly, there's a.
And I don't know if further up, the very top of your property, maybe that's far enough. I mean, but right there, it's not.
Yeah, we proposed a driveway where it was for the sake of aligning driveways, which is encouraged in the.
Correct.
Right.
That's
Correct.
4 lanes just get across.
Yeah, because they may end up, I guess I'm just saying, I don't know, maybe up at the very top of your property, it might be far enough up, I don't know.
Because they still have to turn left on.
Anything else, Ron?
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I think those were the big items that I wanted to talk about. Is there
I mean,
anything-
from a positive side, I'm very happy that there's something on that corner, because obviously nobody likes to see an abandoned hotel. So. Side note.
I appreciate everyone's feedback. We will regroup and have a conversation with PennDOT. We'll be in touch with the township on that. They'll be, involved with the scoping meetings as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And go from there.
Could you forward that plan?
Be updated.
Yeah,
Sure. I mean,
okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I mean, last real quick, I mean, and this body is usually looking to our engineer all the time. You know, this is what it says with the law.
You have a copy of it.
I do. I have copies.
All right. Anything else?
Do we need a motion on this?
Just leave them.
Oh,
Plan.
Just leave them.
it'd be
Just leave them.
absolutely right to get into this without,
Yep, just leave them.
Why?
because he's the guy.
All right. Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
hang on.
Robert,
Yes.
what's going on with the park building over there by the creek?
Which one, Hollow Road?
No, by the Twin Falls Road,
Right here.
yeah, the one right there, the creek.
What's going on with the bridge?
No, the building, the little white house there.
Your old farmhouse.
I don't know. I've been by there. I'll take a look.
There's literally a tree growing out of the
Thanks,
gutter.
guys.
It's like an inch in diameter, a trunk. I mean, is it being maintained? Are you guys gonna abandon it? Are you gonna tear it down?
Is it on Mount Tom or is it on,
It's the one right there.
Robert, he's
Over
talking
here?
about.
Right.
Oh, Twin, I'm thinking of Twin Lakes. You're
No,
thinking,
by where
no.
they're playing basketball. Across from them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
you mean, you mean the little,
No,
log cabin?
No,
The
white one, the White House.
Right across from the duck, big house, across from the township.
At the stop sign.
Park House.
Yeah,
You're talking about?
yeah.
Yes.
We've got an architect, who's making a plan to, you revise the interior. Use it initially for maybe the sewer authority offices downstairs and expand the big room that the Boy Scouts use, going to be used more as a community room. And eventually make offices upstairs too. But the plan isn't work now. I haven't seen it, except for a sketch, but
So there's major renovations being planned?
yeah.
Okay, because
So-
right now it looks like it's abandoned. Right now it looks like it's abandoned.
It's not, it's not at all.
To different people to get the gutters cleaned, we're also looking at,
Well, you're gonna need a chainsaw to clean the gutters out.
Really?
There's literally a 5-foot tree growing out of the gutter.
Those, what are those trees called? They literally
Isn't
grow,
that,
that's probably just
isn't
this
that the
year.
tree was taken down?
no,
and
I can't remember what it's the tree that
Hornbeam.
snap off. They grow very, very easily and the wood is very, very useless.
Is it a willow?
No, it's the same thing. I had 6 of them on our property. They went
And you
up
can't get rid of them?
2 years. No, they're actually decent trees.
Okay, well, I just was curious, because it looks
They
like
grow
a
up-
real eyesore
They
right
grow
now.
up 5 feet a year, 6 feet a year.
Anyway, we're waiting
No
for
shade,
plans
though.
for
They're not purpose.
renovating the whole.
And who's the architect, John?
Ray O'Brien
Okay,
in,
Blairstown.
Blairstown, yeah.
Robert, one last thing. Are we gonna do anything about this guy's? It's right here. These are the lights that I keep complaining about. This is last night.
Is this, the beer store?
No, no,
It's
but
next to P&S Garage.
it's next to P&S
MTS.
Garage.
Oh,
Just
it's right down here.
Yeah, but why does it keep looking like this? Why do we still have this? This is last night.
I'll take a look.
Good photograph.
You're welcome. It was in my car, right? Because I couldn't see anything else.
Smoke, it's blinding smoke.
With the hazel road, that's pretty neat.
Just send that photo
Very moody. Very moody.
You're saying it's blinding when you go.
It's horrible. It's terrible. It's like a tarmac.
I'm sure he has them, so cars don't get stolen, but they don't have to be like that.
Send that to
They
Ken.
can't be like
Okay.
That's his-
What he needs to do, but it's gonna cost money,
Is that Mohammed's or the other one?
Muhammad.
Chowdhury, yeah.
It's the one next
Yeah.
to P&S, it's
Yeah,
MCS.
Mohammed's, right.
What he needs to do is trench across the parking lot and put a pole and shine toward the building.
Yeah.
But that costs
Or
more
down,
money than putting
yeah.
them mounted on the building.
He was supposed to do a whole bunch of other things too.
Yeah.
He's
Never
supposed to
did.
do a lot of things.
All right. Now who wants to
Wait,
make a
wait,
motion?
one more.
Oh, sorry, Julia.
Really quick, I hate to bring up a bad penny perhaps, but way back, I believe it was in 2022. This commission took a look at the fence ordinance. I looked through the minutes and it just said that it wasn't recommended, but there were no reasons that I could find if something was deficient. And I wanted to touch base with that because our zoning officer asked about it again. We'd like to have regulations related.
Yes,
No.
you should speak to it because you're the one who said we're just piling ordinance upon ordinance.
Well, I don't think that we should require fence.
Require fence or have requirements if they wanna put them up.
Oh, right now, there's no requirements you can build a fence without coming to the township.
Once it's 8 foot tall, there's a building permit.
Right.
Then you have to have
8 foot tall.
8 feet.
Right. So I don't know what's wrong with that.
kind of issues are coming up that he has concerns about?
Right.
It's simply the fact that we have no regulations on them. We don't have anything in our ordinances related to site triangles and making sure people can safely turn out of spots. Trying to ward off property dispute, something like that. If we don't want.
Then you gotta start putting, if you're worried about that, we need to start talking about landscaping too, because
Well,
arborvitae are worse for sightlines than fence are a lot of the time.
deer eat them.
They don't even mind. I got enough apple trees in front. They don't-
Maybe that's it. So,
I mean, just because it's not regulated.
there are
doesn't mean
fences that are
it needs to be.
unsightly, I'll point it out, but
But I think that's why.
Would you like for us to look at that?
You've already looked at it. I was just asking for clarification in the minutes because they just said not recommend and I didn't know why. That's all.
Well, you do bring up a good point about, blocking, access, or not access, but this sightline, thank you.
that would be a reason for a fence ordinance, are you right? All right.
Why don't you have the zoning officer give us some recommendations of what he would like to see in such an ordinance, and we can take a look at it.
Or, even better, have a look at some local fence ordinances from other.
Others.
Well, that's.
Yeah, that's what was
actually-
presented to us, but
I
you said no
worked with
because
Ken
it was-
Wolf and created, I worked with Ken Wolf and created a fence ordinance based off of local fence ordinances.
Oh,
So
okay.
the project, or excuse me, the draft ordinance that was in front of the board meets with his approval and handles all of the concerns that he had.
We don't enforce what we have.
Yeah, that was the other questions. We're already not enforcing, so why are we adding another thing?
Well, that's a good point, i.e. the lights on Franklin Hill.
We cannot hope to, fix any concerns if there are no regulations for the township to fall back on.
If there are concerns, so that's what we just said, tell us an example of where there's some concerns. Because we have lots and lots of concerns that aren't related to fences that aren't getting addressed ever. So you're gonna add another ordinance to address something that presently is not a concern.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because quite frankly, it rises to almost a philosophical level. I.e. enforcement. There is none.
There's enforcement only when neighbors call on other neighbors and it makes our township a horrible place to be
And
because it's just,
That's not what you want.
it should be consistent enforcement of start with certain things that are the most egregious and consistently enforce those. And then add to the next most egregious thing that needs to be enforced, as opposed to cherry picking because of particular neighbors, the least egregious things that need to be enforced.
Agreed.
Here, here.
And I'll say it again, I've said it before. People excel at those things the boss checks. I.e., who's the boss? Well, who's Ken Wolf's boss? Is he his own boss? No, he's not, as a matter of fact. You know, and I know, and Ken knows that the zoning officer reports to the Board of Supervisors.
Correct.
The Board of Super, you and the other two guys are his boss. So give him his marching orders.
Challenge.
And make sure that-
Challenge is if someone raises something that is happening as a law to the zoning officer, he has some responsibility to take a look at it, right?
Yeah, and that's where he shows up every week with a report to the supervisors as to
Right.
what kind of complaints he's getting and how he's prioritizing.
Yeah.
So, all right, I know you got a lot to do.
No, it's
Still,
frustrating.
something has to be done in that area.
Well,
I would-
It's not.
we're working on it.
The light bleeding is a big one. There's several.
That's a big one.
properties. It's a real
That
big
thing
one.
is-
It's a real big one.
Yeah.
That's a night.
Also the
I
jump in
think
people's
the
yards.
solution is to work around his strengths and reinforce his weaknesses with somebody else.
Now,
Okay,
Make a
I'll
motion, we
also
adjourn.
point out, speaking of lighting.
yeah, 1 second.
Scott's picture, I could take a picture like that, maybe I'll go up there tonight and do it. Now that I have a phone, I can email it to you or something, but I can take a picture of a private residence on a road pretty close to me that's lit up like that. Now,
Is there one?
yes,
Where?
it's on, I wish I could remember the address, it's
Send me
like,
the address, so I can take a look.
I will.
Okay.
And why should you take a look?
I've been taking a look at a lot of these kinds of things.
You should do is you should send it to Ken and copy Robert.
You know, sometimes
Do that.
it's easier for me
But
to
Robert needs to-
direct Mr. Wolf, once I've seen what the problem is.
Okay,
We've been fairly successful in doing it that way.
I'll probably text it to you.
all right.
Okay.
That's, I sort of know how to do that now.
Can we make a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Lovely.
Andiamo.
Yeah, well, this is the way it ends every time.
Thanks for that.
Of course. But I'm not saying.
Good night, everyone.
And then.
Yeah, no, we're good.
All right, because